So one other thing I wanted to chat with you about on this pod is an interview I heard with John Cooper after the first Canada game, and he said Crosby's going to go down in history as the greatest Canadian hockey player or international hockey player. And I feel like we're uniquely positioned to have this debate here after we've just done a deep dive on the 87 Canada Cup and I'll look back on Gretzky's international career. And to be honest, when I heard that statement, I thought it was a little bit over the top, or maybe a little bit of recency bias there. Like, no way you're comparing Crosby to Gretzky. But actually, as I kind of went back and did a little more research on it, refreshed my memory on anything, it is quite a debate. They're pretty evenly matched.
Yeah, I was the same. I was like, there's no way. But then you start breaking it down, and up until Saturday, he was 26-0 in a Canada shirt. He's won everything you could win as far as international, and I mean, four nations aside, see what happens there. But the stat that blew me away is in all of his international play, he's a plus 85. Like, you don't think of him as a defensive force, but just not allowing goals when he's on the ice and obviously contributing to many, many goals. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that stat. Plus 85. That is crazy. I think that is like the big differentiator between him and Gretzky is obviously Gretzky, you get the prolific offensive output, but you're not necessarily getting the two-way sort of physical element, the puck control element. Also, Crosby on the face-offs, probably a little bit of a advantage there.
And probably facing tougher competition now, too, I would think.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. It's hard to say because, I mean, skill level is hard when you compare eras. I'm sure, I mean, those Russian teams were pretty awesome back in the 80s and stuff like that. But it seems like everybody's good now. Like, they're, other than your cupcakes when you get your Kazakhstan or your Latvia or whoever.
Yeah, it's tough and you're comparing different eras, but to try to help, I kind of did a little research on their international careers, kind of going back to junior. So let me set this up and see if that helps influence your decision. So if we look at Gretzky, he played one World Juniors at the age of 16, led the tournament in scoring with 17 points in 6 games as a 16-year-old, but they only won bronze there. Crosby played in 2 World Juniors, won gold in both, I believe. Oh, no, sorry. Crosby played as a 16-year-old as well. They won a silver medal that year. And then in 2005, they won gold. That was the golden generation. That was when they had the lockout in the NHL. So they had Bergeron and Marchand and Phaneuf, and I kind of forget all the guys, but I had a picture at one point with that team, and I think Doughty was on that team. Yeah. Probably you might give the edge. Interestingly enough, too, I was looking at how many of these international events each of them were captains. So Gretzky was not the captain, obviously, at 16. Brad McCrimmon, for a little trivia question there, was the captain when he played. When Crosby played at 16, Phaneuf was the captain, and then in 2005, Bergeron was the captain, but Crosby was a dominant player there. So you could probably give the edge to Crosby, or even call it even from a World Junior perspective, because if Gretzky would have played when he was 17, he probably would have led them to victory. So then you get, I think where it's tricky is you got Gretzky played in 4 Canada Cups. Crosby didn't have any. On the other hand, Gretzky didn't get a chance to play in the Olympics until he was pretty much at the end of his career. But Gretzky played in 4 Canada Cups. He was the scoring leader in all 4 of those tournaments, and they won 3. So a lot of this argument could come down to how much weight do you place on the Canada Cups versus the international tourneys that Crosby played in. But then Gretzky did go on to win one World Cup, which he was the captain at. He was 37 at the time. And then, of course, we know he played in Nagano at the Olympics, and Lindros was actually the captain there. Canada didn't even win a medal there. We know the heartbreaker in the shootout.
That's got to be one of the dumbest decisions of all time, right? Like, I know he's old, but you got the best player of all time sitting on the bench. You just leave him on the bench. It would be like, you remember when the Bulls were going for the championship and Michael Jordan hits the shot at the end? Can you imagine if they said, actually, Mike, you sit this one out. We're going to throw JoJo English in here for this last shot. What are you doing?
Yeah, that game might have been the biggest heartbreak that Canadian hockey fans have ever felt. So then switching gears to Crosby, aside from the World Juniors that I mentioned, he played in 2 Olympics, Vancouver and Sochi. He was actually not the captain in either of those. Niedermayer was the captain in Vancouver, and Pronger was the captain in Sochi. Of course, in Vancouver, we got the golden goal. So we got Crosby played great. He didn't have the offensive production that Gretzky had in those tournaments, but of course he impacted the game in a lot of other ways and probably scored the biggest goal in Canadian history. You could make an argument for the 87 goal, but I think winning an Olympic gold in overtime, pretty tough to top that, I would say. The other thing about Crosby, he kind of got robbed in a way because when the Olympics were in South Korea, the NHL didn't participate in it. That was like right in the sweet spot of his career. So you could have easily had another gold there. And then during the Beijing Olympics, that was the COVID year. Was there no hockey or just no NHL players in that?
I'm not sure.
I don't even remember those Olympics. But yeah, so there's 2 more Olympics. So Crosby won 2 golds earlier in his career and then missed the Olympics twice. And he's going to get one more crack at it next year too.
Yeah.
Assuming he makes the team, which I would think he would.
I think. So yeah, that's potential 5 Olympic medals he could have. It is a good argument. I don't know. What's your thoughts? Who do you got?
Yeah, I guess I've went back and forth. So you could flip a coin almost, but I'm still leaning Gretzky a little bit. And for this reason is because in these big international games, goals are hard to come by. And you can find great 2-way players and guys to win faceoffs, but Gretzky to be able to generate offense at every level when goals were hard to come by, that's why I give the edge to Gretzky. Although I do think, obviously all-round player, probably Crosby impacts the game in more ways. But I think what Gretzky was able to bring was more irreplaceable than Crosby, and just making everybody around him better. Now, having said that, if Crosby pulls this off, if Canada makes it to the finals here, I know it's only the Four Nations Cup, but this U.S. team is got to be one of the greatest opponents Team Canada has ever faced. And if Crosby can play a significant role in leading them to victory here, I think the resume starts to top Gretzky. I feel like the resumes are pretty equal now, but if Crosby gets this, that's putting him over the edge. And then he's also got the opportunity to build on his legacy at the Olympics next year. So I think one thing I would give to Crosby, I'll throw it back to you, is I think Crosby's performing at a higher level in the late stages of his career than Gretzky did when he was around the same age. So what are your thoughts?
I had the same idea. It's the ability to create the offense, and which also makes me lean Wayne. I think I agree that if they pull this off and he does win another Olympic medal, it's probably him. And it's too bad that he missed those other 2 Olympics, because then I don't even think it would be an argument if you've got 4 Olympic medals in the bag.
Yeah. So you're still leaning Gretzky there?
I got Wayne right now, but we'll see what happens by the end of this week.
If you enjoyed that video, watch the rest of the episode on the Hazy Sports Pod YouTube channel, or listen on Spotify or Apple